Thanks, Dick, and hello, everyone. So as Dick mentioned, we're going to give you a short demonstration of the SMART value proposition. And I'm just setting my screen up here. So as a salesperson, when I log into the application, I will see a series of value propositions that have been published by marketing. So these are all available to me to use depending on the opportunity that I'm working on. So again, this is web-based, this is my browser, and we've set it up so it's very simple to find the value proposition that aligns with the opportunity that I'm working on. There's several ways to do that. We can search by name, or we can search by filters. And the filters, if we notice, we have actually access in this example to 76 value propositions. When I use the filters to kind of focus in on the one that is most appropriate, I get down to 3 value propositions that I can choose from. When I click on the title, it opens up the value proposition on my screen. And so this is what I will be showing to the client. Now the example that we're using today is a fictitious example. It's a specialty chemical company called Dean Chemicals, and they make an advanced automotive coating, or essentially paint for a car. So as a salesperson, I might choose to open up this value proposition and check it out prior to my meeting. And in fact, I can also make changes if I choose to. But what we're seeing here are some very simple points. The value proposition is intended to quickly demonstrate the value of my offering versus the competitive offering. In the case that we have here, the company that we're talking to, and maybe that company is Ford Motor Company, so we'll put in the title of the group that we'll be talking with. They have an existing automotive coating today, and what we're trying to do is to, in our initial meeting with them, to convince them that they should take a closer look at ours. And in fact, if we look at the specific example here, we can see the case made visually in the graphics as well as in the data. And if we look at the data for a moment, we notice that on a per vehicle basis, our competitor is charging $22.40. The price for our solution is $25 per vehicle. So we're actually more expensive. But if we look at the graphic, what we want to really get into, and the discussion that we want to have with Ford, is that even though our solution is more expensive, we provide significant additional value so that at the end of the day, our solution is overall less expensive than what they have today. And we can see here the value on a per vehicle basis to Ford would be $8.18. Now, you'll see underneath there's a series of assumptions, and these have been set up when the value proposition was published. And the goal here is to aid the salesperson and help them have that conversation with the client and focus on some of the key pieces of data that they want to either agree upon or change potentially based on the input from the client. So maybe when I'm starting to have that discussion, so maybe we're now in a meeting and I bring this value proposition up again, Ford tells me that they're actually doing 50,000 vehicles per year. And so I can quickly make that change, and that change is now reflected in all of the data. And as we'll see here, the changes are reflected in other parts of the value proposition as well. So maybe they inform me they're doing 50,000 vehicles per year, and they actually do use 4.4 liters for undercoating today. And so I can make those changes, and you'll notice, by the way, when a change is made, it's highlighted. This can be turned off, but you can leave it on to keep track of the changes that you've made with the client. And by the way, I can also look at the information, if I choose to, on an annual basis or for over a multi-year period. And again, that information is very quickly updated based on the metric that I want to use during my discussion. So once we talk through some of the assumptions and maybe we've made those changes, we can start to drill into how we are different from the solution that they're using today. And you'll notice these buttons on the right-hand side these allow me to change the chart and present the data in a different way to then help me kind of walk through my conversation. And what I really want the prospect to be thinking about is the cost savings that our solution will provide. And you'll notice there's 3 green bars here, which represent the 3 main value drivers, if you will, or the 3 main areas that we will provide savings versus what they're using today. And we can see these here: material cost, warranty cost, and weight savings. Now, the 3 areas here also correspond to the buttons underneath the assumptions. And our discussion will be, overall there's a savings, but let's drill in a little bit and discuss how we came up with this calculation, what our logic is. Because if we can get the prospect to generally agree with our logic and agree with our assumptions, then they will begin to take co-ownership of the value proposition, and you've actually won the meeting at that point. Once they agree with you, they can potentially then take that value proposition and begin selling internally for you. But let's not jump the gun. Let's take a look at some of these specific value drivers, and we'll start with material costs. So when I click on that button, I now get a screen specifically devoted to our material cost savings. And the language here is set up so that the salesperson can either let the prospect read it for themselves, or they can talk them through the calculations. You'll notice here the overall value that we're providing, and here's the material cost piece that we're happen to be talking about at this moment. So in this case, in the example that we're using, our solution doesn't require undercoating. So that saves the prospect $7.70 per vehicle. And by the way, you'll notice that these changes are highlighted. These are actually changed because of the assumptions that we changed on the first screen. And as you can see, that is automatically reflected through the other numbers. So we can see here it's $7.70 per vehicle, and we may have that discussion, and let's drill into the next one. So we are also making a claim about a reduced aftermarket warranty costs. Now, in many cases, salespeople will be making claims that they'll want to be able to back up. And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, there are a series of tabs. These tabs are intended to provide information and material that will back up the salesperson's discussion. So what I can start to show maybe are case studies, any kind of technical data that the marketing people have included in the value proposition and have included, hopefully, to help me make the case. For example, there may be a video of a client talking about the fact that we reduced their aftermarket warranty claims. Maybe it's a 30 or 60-second video that I can watch with the prospect. And so there's a lot of different information that you can embed in the tabs down here, and they're kept below until the salesperson needs to access that information. And then finally, if we look at the third area, which is the weight savings, we'll again see a case to be made about the fact that our solution is lighter, and that's going to save the client money as well. So having walked through the 3 main areas, I can go back to the main screen and again maybe reiterate the value that we're providing. And again, if I choose to change the metrics in terms of the per car or per year, I can do that. But what I can also do now is leave a copy of this with the client. And so we have the ability to export a PowerPoint presentation that essentially reflects the conversation that we just had and also reflects any new information that has been added or changed within the value proposition during our discussion. So I can then email this value proposition to the client, and they will now have a copy that they can begin to circulate internally and hopefully get me my next meeting. Because as we've talked about, what we're seeing from our clients is the ability to qualify deals, but also get farther into deals that normally we never would have gotten to the next step, because maybe we focus too much on features and benefits and not enough on the bottom line improvement that our offering will provide in economic terms. So finally, once I've completed the session, I can save the value proposition, and I can save it as a specific example, which is my Ford conversation. And once that's saved, it's saved back into the cloud, and that can be then re-accessed by me, or if I choose to, accessed by the marketing team or others. And I have control over who sees my value proposition, as well as when the marketing people publish value propositions, they have control over who sees them as well. So that is a very quick demonstration of the value proposition. And our goal with these is to enable a salesperson to have a 5 or 10-minute conversation and really get to the point and make an impact with the prospect to then get that next meeting or get a higher level within the organization to be able to get farther down the sales cycle. So with this, I will jump back to the other part of the presentation. And one of the questions that I typically get is, how do we get started? So the way that we engage with new prospective clients, and really the way we've engaged with all of our clients up until now, is through what we call a proof of concept. The goal of the proof of concept is to enable prospective clients to try out a value proposition and test it out both internally and externally. So what we'll do is work with you, and over typically a period of 1 or 2 weeks, develop a value proposition or multiple value propositions based on your offerings, and then make those available to your team and to the broader community for a period of time. And they can take those value propositions, circulate them internally, have the conversations, test them out. But more importantly, they can also use them with clients to test them out to see what kind of feedback that they get. And the goal is at the end of the proof of concept, you've seen success, you've seen some of the results, and you're able to make a decision whether you want to purchase a subscription and become an official client of ours at that point. So it's a good opportunity to test things out.